Am I the asshole for threatening my brother with a restraining order if he went anywhere near my niece? I, 32M, have been the sole guardian of my niece S, 13F, for most of her life. Her parents, my sister and Bill, both died within a few days of each other when she was a few months old, so I'm the only parent she knows. I have a half-brother L, 33M, who started living with us when I was 7. My dad made it super clear which of us he liked better, and despite his troublemaking tendencies, both my father and sister were very lenient to him. Here's why I don't think I'm the TA. L is partially responsible for S being orphaned. I won't go into any details, but it was a drunk driving incident. L made it out. Brother-in-law died on impact, and my sister a few days afterwards. L was indicted, and I don't know how he did it, but my dad got him out. L then disappeared for over 10 years. He only showed up a few months ago, completely sober and with a family of his own. The first thing he did when he got back was ask to see S. I told him no. He said he understood, and that he promised not to contact S until I allowed it. Except about a week ago I found out he's been constantly coming to see her at school. His wife is a teacher. Worst thing is, S doesn't know who L actually is. She just think he's a favorite teacher's husband. When I found out, I tore him a new one, and threatened to report him to the police and place a restraining order on him. He doesn't deserve to know her after what he did. After he caused me to be a parent at 19, my dad wasn't granted legal custody of S because he had previously been reported for child neglect when I was 16. I applied for emancipation that same year. Bill's side of the family is extremely wealthy but also awful to the core, so I fought for custody of S. Why I might be the TA. It was no secret my sister favored L. L was the charming one, while I was always hiding behind a book. She was the only one who stayed when he was drinking and using underage. She would forgive him for literally everything. She would have wanted him to know her daughter. S is also upset with me because I banned her from talking to L as well as filed a petition to get her moved to a different class. The only way I can convince her is by telling her who L really is, but how do I do that to her? Not the asshole. You should really report your brother's wife. She is a teacher who went behind a parent's back and let a child in her care meet a grown man who she knew was not allowed to see the child. That is a massive deal and the school needs to know about it. Not the asshole. He went behind your back to secretly talk to her. That is disgusting and a complete disregard of you as a parent, not to mention manipulative to the kid. Also, I highly doubt she would want to know him if she knew what he did. If I was her, I'd feel disgusted I ever interacted with him. Not the asshole. I understand that maybe your sister would have wanted S to know L. But unfortunately she's not here to make that decision. And you're the one who's raising her. You know better than anyone how to keep S safe. And if that means getting a restraining order, you should go for it. Please tell her, man. You don't want her learning about it later and resenting you for not telling her she was talking to her parents' murderer all that time. You're not the asshole. Fuck that guy. Not the asshole. Depending on your country, your brother going to the school to see her may be illegal. Not the asshole, and yes, you're a good uncle. Your intentions are great. However, niece is only going to grow. I believe she deserves to know the truth and can then make the decision herself. Not the asshole at all. Get a restraining order and I think it's time to talk to your niece. She's old enough to know, and personally if I were her I would be disgusted knowing who I was talking to. L is a shyster and he's going to keep trying to wiggle his way into her life. He's already shown he doesn't care to break boundaries. He's been enabled his whole life and is still being enabled. Break the cycle. So your brother just moved back to the neighborhood with a family in tow. Yet your daughter's long-term favorite school teacher is his wife? Interesting. Not the asshole. Report the effing teacher. I'm a teacher myself and what the fuck is that? She lied to your niece and to you. She knew what she was doing was wrong but she did it anyways. Info. I am a bit confused about the timeline. Your brother resurfaced a few months ago and his wife instantly ended up being your niece's teacher? You first called her a teacher, but you also say that you asked for your niece to be placed in a different class. So is she her actual teacher? Not the asshole. Good for you for putting your niece first. Not the asshole. But you will become one in your niece's eyes when you don't explain yourself. 13 is old enough. You could also report the teacher for allowing L.G. her husband access to a child, especially considering you said to L not to contact her. If you don't tell your daughter now she could resent you for moving classes and losing her favorite teacher for no reason. Not the asshole. It's great that you're defending your niece, and you should tell her the truth, she is old enough to know. Info. How on earth were you granted custody of a 3-year-old at 19, over a wealthy family who, awful or not, would have had much more means to look after the child? How is L's wife's favorite teacher if L disappeared 10 years ago and just recently surfaced? Edit. How is L allowed to be in the school so regularly as he does not work there? Plus COVID rules generally prohibit people from being in places they have no business at? Sounds like you're letting a personal vendetta get in between family. If he's 10 years clean and showing that he's responsible, you're being childish. Are you really holding family apart just because L used to be a favorite? Grow up. She's definitely old enough to know who he is and what he did. This is going to be hard, but she needs to know the truth. While the teacher was definitely wrong to let her husband meet her student, I would urge you to reconsider your opinion on your brother. If he had a drinking problem and has sobered up and you feel your sister would want her daughter to get to know him, I would urge you to reconsider. From what you say, he was not malicious. He is clearly feeling terrible about causing the accident and wants to connect with his niece. Forgive him. But give the whole picture to your niece and let her decide for herself if she wants a relationship with her uncle or not. Holding the bitterness will only alienate your niece from you. Yes, having L going around you to contact your niece is quite disturbing. If I was in your place, I would acted exactly the same way you did. The part of the story where I think you suck is the fact that you're hiding to us the cause of all that circus. I do believe she got the right to know who's that person is and why he's around. Honesty is always the best policy, and when she will find out, because she will find out sooner or later, you might have to deal with resentment of her part. She's 13, she's old enough to understand. Not the asshole. Expose him. You'll be doing her extreme justice, but be cautious on how you tell her. And I don't know how he did it, but my dad got him out. What is the factual situation here? Was he intoxicated according to the law, or not? What is the exact meaning of, my dad got him out? Why do you expect that you will get a restraining order? Not the asshole. You are this girl's real father and you have every right to protect her from the dude who caused her parents' deaths. It is astounding that other people are so willing to forgive this guy. And him going behind your back, ignoring your wishes, to see her and using his wife's position to get at her. It makes me sick. This teacher should be fired as well for abusing her position. Please take your daughter and get away from these awful people. Info. L was gone for over 10 years, returned a few months ago with a family, and his wife is your daughter's teacher? I'm a bit confused as to the timeline here. Info. I'm unclear on the timeline of his return to your town. 1. He returned with his family a few months ago. 2. His wife got a job teaching at your niece's school, where she teaches your niece's grade, and even has your niece in her class. 3. School is in session. 4. The courts gave custody of an infant to an unmarried 19-year-old male rather than to the wealthy stable grandparents. 5. You were able to successfully fight them in court for this. 6. It's all too weird. Not the asshole. And while this might seem crass, I want to word it in such a way to have the most impact. Yes. Your sister would have wanted her daughter to know him. Yes. She always forgave him. Where is she now? And who helped her get there? I'm sure she was a lovely person. That doesn't make her a good judge of character. I think your life is the proof of that. Not the asshole. Please report the teacher. She went behind a parent's back and allowed a grown man to meet with an underage girl. NTA. It's good that your niece has a dad like you, just keep protecting her like one. Not the asshole. He sounds beyond horrible. It may be a crushing thing to learn, but please tell us she will only feel bitter that you are going to such lengths to deny her seeing people she likes for no reason, and it could cause rifts. She is young, yes, but old enough to understand this, and will likely find out at some point in time anyway. Let her find out the right way through you, and now, when it is relevant. Not the asshole, and no one should go behind your back like that. I am unsure though as to why do you think L would be dangerous to S. I'm not saying he deserves to know her in any way, but I also didn't read anything that would necessarily make him very dangerous, anymore. People with alcohol and drug addictions can recover, and he seems to have done that. 10 years. And as horrible as the driving accident was, it still sounds like it was a genuine accident and he's not necessarily bad to the core. Getting a restraining order based on 10-year-old events sounds unlikely to me though. Either way, this should be your decision, until your daughter can maybe later make her own. Be honest with her. Not the asshole. Your sister is dead, so she can't enable your brother. Report SIL to the school. Get the restraining order nonetheless. Please consider telling the truth to your niece. Have you thought about adopting your niece? It's awful what happened and you decided to not forgive him. That's fair. Maybe it's influenced by your relationship with him in the past, but that's your business. But you can't dictate if those two get to know each other or not. He's her uncle too, and after all it should be her decision, not yours. She's old enough to know the truth. You're lying to her and you want her to move classes without any explanation. I am sorry, but you are the asshole. NTA. He disrespected your position as parent and went behind your back, and her teacher allowing this is disgusting and should be reported to school administration. Saying that, I do think you need to tell your daughter, niece, so that she understands this isn't some random punishment of her. Why won't Op answer anything? Info. What was the everything your sister forgave him for? Lots of kids drink and experiment with drugs underage. Is there something else? You said the accident involved drunk driving. Was he the driver? Just seems unlikely that you're going to be let off completely if you were the drunk driver in a DBL fatality wreck. Were there other people injured? She would forgive him for literally everything. She would have wanted him to know her daughter. L caused her death and her husband's death, and caused her daughter to grow up without parents. Do you really think her forgiveness would have stretched that far? Not the asshole. Report L's wife too for overstepping her bounds as a teacher. Not the asshole. I would tell your niece before your brother or his wife will tell her their version. She is old enough and should know the truth. If you haven't already, sign her up for therapy. Didn't Op say that step-brother disappeared for 10 years? Is he still wanted for the DUI accident? I second the thought about a background check for him to enter the school. Considering he was responsible for a death, they may not want him in the school building. Not the asshole. Info. Does S know that you aren't her biological parent? This doesn't weigh in on the fact that you are not the asshole, but it would make it easier to speak to her about why. Tell S that L murdered her parents and your dad helped him get away with it. These people are not okay, do not be civil, they will exploit it. Not the asshole. 50-50. What he did was wrong in the way he did it and you should absolutely report it because the school has willfully put your daughter in danger introducing a estranged family member, stranger to the girl. Please be really careful, and this is the asshole part. The girl will need to understand, otherwise she will feel punished unfairly. Without an explanation your best intentions may seem spiteful. Your hand is kind of forced now to directly tell her what happened, why you feel this way, and explain that is what influenced you, or you are just going to be the asshole in her eyes. Now that she knows L, you really have to tell her. Otherwise, she'll mistake your intentions in keeping her away from him, and that will put a wedge between you when she is at the age when she most needs to be able to trust her parent. Not the asshole. She's 13. She can handle this conversation. Take her out for milkshakes, go somewhere private and tell her the truth. Also, report the teacher because the teacher sucks. More action if needed. How does this guy not get in jail now? Not the asshole. Firstly, I would report the teacher. The child's parents or guardians have the only say on which adult can see their child. That teacher has an obligation to keep that child safe and is away from those the child is not allowed to see. That teacher is not doing her job. As for telling the child who the person is and what they did, I would consult a child psychologist. They have better ways of dealing with these kinds of situations. Tell your niece and tell on the teacher. This is unethical. Not the asshole. You told him no, and he said he understood, then went behind your back. That's not the behavior of anyone who's learned anything about accountability. Info. When you said that L was indicted but your dad got him out, do you mean L was acquitted, or your dad helped him skip bail? Not the asshole. Report your niece teacher to the school and ask for a retraining order for your brother ASAP. Op. You, telling him he's not allowed to see your niece didn't stop him. He didn't respect your boundary. He won't listen to you in the future unless you take legal action. Protect your niece. This is so effed up. Please protect your niece. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You're the parent, guardian, and have a duty to protect your niece. That L went behind your back shows he still only cares about his needs. The teacher is also in the wrong for aiding and abetting L in allowing him to meet your niece. Do take steps to protect your niece from these selfish adults. It's also time to tell your niece the truth. I would recommend reaching out to a counselor, therapist. You meet and explain the situation, and then at another meeting you tell your niece the family history. Your niece will eventually find out on her own as more people know the history, and it would be best coming from you. It will also explain your actions in regard to her favorite teacher and her a-hole husband. Not the asshole, that really creepy and the wife needs to lose her job. Not the asshole. She may find out one day on her own. If you don't tell her, she may see this as a betrayal. Also, JF you just forbid contact but don't explain why she will push harder. Please report her idiot teacher.